Hello and welcome to this Jane's Weather Update. It is Friday the 11th of July. We're in the middle of winter and we have a winter type weather pattern going on. So I thought I'd start with this one today, just to really point out where the high pressure is sitting. No longer is the centre of this high down here over southern Australia. It has moved north for the winter, which is where it is meant to be. Now, what that does is enable the cold fronts that are always crossing the Southern Ocean to, instead of being down there in the Southern Ocean, to be actually hitting the southern parts of the country. And what that means is there's cold front after cold front, a series of them moving through, and that means you're going to get a burst of cold, wet and windy, that burst as that comes through every day or two as they come in. So if you're in Southern Australia, that is what you have to look forward to. Now, the high will occasionally drop down over the southeast or over the southwest, giving a longer break. But while it is up to our north, that's how we get those cold fronts coming through. So let's take a look at the picture this morning. We have got, yes, the cold front's coming in. Let's actually go back here. Now, we had the big one that came through, the trough in behind it. This little one here over Tasmania and Victoria this morning. The next little one coming in. So they'll be there around lunchtime, about the middle of Victoria. The next one here is well off the southwest, but it has its skates on and that is heading for the southwestern parts of the country. So everywhere is being hit pretty much over the next 24 hours. So there is that nice juicy cold front that is well off the coast in the southwest. Here's that first one coming through and the second one ready to come in. So just hitting Tasmania, hitting Victoria, tapering off as it heads north of the ranges or heading into the east, hitting South Australia, again tapering off as it heads inland, and then the next one will come in here. Now, important to note, there's a fair bit of cloud off the western part of the country. Is that an injection of tropical moisture? Let's keep that in mind as we go through the forecast. Here are the current warnings. It's only marine. That's all. We don't have any severe weather. We've got no severe thunderstorms. There's some sheep graziers, as you would expect, with cold, wet and windy conditions. But they're a bit of an overkill in New South Wales because it's not actually wet through there. Anyway, that's the Bureau's fault. We have these just along the coast here. So there's nothing severe at the moment, just these gales that are in the marine environment. Okay, so having a look at our conditions here. Let me just move my head out of the way over here. Here is for Friday. Now, what I've got at the moment is the pressure. So these lines of equal pressure here. There's a high pressure system. This is by the end of the day, and it's how much rain comes in the 24 hours through to 10 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Why? That's a standard model time, and so that's the one that we actually have to work with. Anyway. Here's the high by the end of today, sitting over there, allowing things to happen in the west. There's our injection of moisture. Here's our cold front coming up, and here's the remains of the cold fronts moving across the southeast. So they're the areas that are being hit today. So that's for Friday. Heading into Saturday, the southeast takes a break. Look where the high pressure system is now, right down there over New South Wales. So there's just a little bit of wet weather that comes into the coast, really mainly in the southeast. The focus on Saturday definitely shifts to the west. We've got that feed of tropical moisture. We've got that cold front coming up. So a lovely little situation in through there. That is for your Saturday. Heading into Sunday, high pressure zooms back up north again. It comes into the west, blocking some things there. But here it is. That system that went through the west is already in the southeast by the end of Sunday. So that's a quick move in that one there. Still more tropical moisture trying to come in through here. The high pressure, 1,020. That's very, very weak. So it's not really a block at all. And then here is the next weather system coming up. Let's watch that one in action. But what I want to do is put on another one here, which is snow level thickness. This tells us how cold or warm a column of air is. And that's really important for having a look at not just how cold it will be, and also in the middle of summer when you've got these red lines coming down to the southeast, that's a 40-degree day. So that's why that's important at that time of year. At this time of year, we're really interested in where the blue bits here are going because it signals a cold outbreak. What it also does is show us that we have an upper level cold pool. Now, upper level, that is away from the surface. So you could get high pressure at the surface, but you can have this upper level cold pool that kind of takes over. It's the instability, and it can make things happen at the surface, even if that surface pattern is looking very benign. So that's why I want to put this on here, because we're going to have some interesting stuff from that next week. Okay, so here we have Sunday. Tropical moisture, weather system here, cold air in behind it. Cold air over the southeast, once again, because the next cold front has moved through. Let's move into Monday. There's that moisture heading across. Have a look at the coloured lines here, the blue ones here. That is an upper level cold pool that is kind of almost spinning off from that fast moving things that are going to the south. Not completely detaching, so it's not going to go really slowly, but it is something that's going to move inland. So here's the rain associated with that. So here's Monday, here's South Australia, looking quite nice. We've got a little bit of wet weather in the southeast. Having a look at Tuesday. Okay, so this upper level cold pool is moving across South Australia and then New South Wales. So this is the little system that possibly could. It is not a coastal thing here, it's an inland thing. It's not huge amounts, it's 5 to 10 millimetres, but it is something that is taking a bit of a different path, moving through that inland route rather than just going the coast and the ranges. So that's as we go through Monday, Tuesday next week. So that is definitely one to keep an eye on. Again, a bit more wet weather coming in through here, bit of a break over in the west. Heading into Wednesday, we've got some action there. We've got this just falling across the southeast. Into Thursday, there's our ridge of high pressure that's sitting across there. Bit of activity, and it continues like that for the foreseeable future. So as long as those highs are to our north, we're just going to keep getting cold front after cold front come through with a new burst of cold, wet and windy and the alpine snow that comes with that. All right, let's have a look at that as a total. So across from today right through the end of next Friday, anything yellow is over 25 millimetres, so the coast here, the coastal through here, the ranges here, huge falls in western parts of Tasmania, as you should be getting at this time of year. So that's the pattern, but also you can see that little system that could moving across here. Not huge falls, but just a nice 5, 10, maybe 15 millimetres as it tracks across those inland areas Monday and Tuesday. All right, as a whole, let's have a look at that from the Euro's perspective. So this is one of the global models. There's that hint of tropical moisture coming in. There is it moving across the southwest. It's got that really moving into South Australia here, thanks to that little upper cold pool. It's got being mainly a coastal system here and definitely a Western Tasmanian system. Otherwise, the rest of this is kind of a white colour rather than proper brown and dry. So we've got that little bit of activity that's coming in. Now, you did see that it started well in South Australia and did ease a little as it moves through New South Wales, but still 5 to 10 millimetres, we'll take it at this time of year. Okay, that is what the Euro model is saying. What is the Bureau saying? Okay, we're also in a fair bit of agreement here. Now, do note that this was run on the 8th of July, so several days ago now. This particular green area that is through western parts of New South Wales, I'll tell you this for a fact, the modelling this morning, the access model, has weakened that off as part of, in terms of the 4 that we have a look at, the access is actually one of the weaker ones now. So this is, as always, is the old data. Unfortunately, the Access S model doesn't update very often. And so this is what it was thinking a couple of days ago. And I'll tell you here today that the Access model for Monday, Tuesday, has less than the other models on it. So let's just keep that in mind. Otherwise, yes, into the southwest, yes, all in through here and western parts of Tasmania. Okay, that is next week. Here we have a look at week 2. So this is beginning the 21st of July, and there is a lot more green on this Euro map. So that's great. What it means is those highs are staying up there. There's also green that is coming down in through here somewhere. So is there a tropical connection? We like a tropical connection. It's got heaps of moisture with it, and it helps plump up those fronts as they come through. And it also helps bring it to interior parts too, not just the coast and the ranges. So a lot of green over this map here. Does the Bureau agree with the old data from a couple of days ago? It is liking something also coming down from the northwest. This is classic northwest juicy cloud band. Now, I know some people out there love it when I say that. I love it when I say that because it means the tropical ocean is doing what it can do best. It is connecting that tropical moisture into a system in the south, and everyone is happy as it comes through because it can produce some widespread rain. Now, as always, this is miles and miles away. It is week 2, but it is something that is the potential on the horizon, definitely something to keep an eye on for that particular week there. What would be driving that? Let's go to our MJO, Madden-Julian Oscillation, a pulse of energy that travels around the tropics. It is doing a bit of a drive-by here near Australia, so it is making that connection, and it is allowing that lovely connection to come in, bring that tropical moisture, and connect it with a system that moves through to deliver rain for anyone that is in the path of that. So that is a nice one to see at this time of year. Okay, let's head further out, looking at global patterns and what they're doing for us here. In the Pacific, we know we're in a very neutral year. There's nothing exciting happening in that box at all. We have our own source of moisture that is off the coast of Queensland here, warmer than average, holds more moisture. Whenever you get the winds travelling from that direction, it pumps more moisture into a weather system. You still have to have the weather system move through and connect to that moisture in order to actually access that. The interesting thing is over in the Indian Ocean, our blob of blue continues to grow, so it gets bigger. It's also getting darker. We've even got some proper purples in there now, so this is very exciting. When I talk about those juicy northwest cloud bands, this is the thing that feeds those. We like it when this one here turns blue and this one out through here, around Indonesia here, is remaining warmer than average. It's in imbalance, and so the atmosphere goes, whoa, I see something that's happening in the ocean here. I'm going to start to interact with that, and what it does is actively pushes moisture into Australia from the northwest. What it also does is mean that last year we had our high pressure systems sitting right down over the southern parts of the country. That made it very difficult for cold fronts to come through. So you didn't get that 1 or 2 days of a new cold front coming through. We missed out on that pattern and we ended up with all of that drought across these parts of the southeast. This season is looking different, and one of the reasons is thanks to this box that's all the way over there. It's practically in the Middle East, but it has a big impact on us here. And so when that is going blue, it helps let those cold fronts come through, because it means essentially the global patterns, they all interact, and it means that the high can move out of the way and allow those systems to come through. What we really want is for the high to split, so we can access that tropical moisture and let it run into those cold fronts, low pressure systems, troughs, whatever you like, as they come through and deliver that rain. So we're seeing more of that this year because that box is starting to be a good one for us. Let's have a look at the forecast. Here's the Pacific Ocean, neutral. That's what we're expecting. Nothing to see there. In the Indian Ocean, lovely. So it did its big dive down here. It wobbled around. It's dived again. And that is a little bit more blue this week. So next week, so this update's on a Monday. I'm expecting that to be even lower. The forecast from the Bureau has it dipping now across that threshold. In the last couple of weeks, it had it up just a little bit, but was still very near that threshold. It's now down there. All of this here just means that we're more likely to get a source of moisture from the northwest. If we can have it run into those fronts and troughs and lows, then we end up getting wet weather. So this is great news here. All right, let's have a bit of a whip around the country. Brisbane, I'm going to spend 3 seconds on here. The average rain for the next week is 0. There's not a lot happening. We go back into cold nights. We've got our sunny days. The cloud and the light spit of rain has moved away. All right, so that's Brisbane. Let's move into Sydney. Very similar. We've got our sunny days. The only one here is that system coming across Monday, Tuesday. 0.6 of a millimetre by the time it gets to Sydney on Tuesday. Otherwise, nothing to see here. Let's move into Melbourne. We've got the remains of this one that came through overnight. The next burst is coming through during the afternoon. So it's another burst of showers coming through. They'll just be streaming on in. But before that, temperatures rise thanks to our northwesterly winds. That's for Friday. Break time is on Saturday. There's even some sunny breaks in there. That high is moving lower, giving us a little bit of a break. So that's all day Saturday. And Sunday, it's all the way through the day. The next cold front arrives on Sunday night. So don't rule out your Sunday. Sunday during the day itself is pretty good, although the wind will definitely be strengthening coming from the north. As we go into the Sunday night, into Monday, for the rest of this, there's just... I'm not even quite sure how I'm going to describe it on the TV tonight. It's just bleh. That's the nicest way of putting it. We've got just little cold fronts coming through, none of them strong. We've got that action coming through Monday, Tuesday, but that's north of Melbourne, so it's not a lot happening in through here. Wednesday, a little bit more. Thursday, a little bit more. It's just coming on through. So it won't add up to a lot if you're in the Melbourne area, but in the southwest, it definitely will. All right, heading into Adelaide, excitement is today. So we have all of the weather system that's moved through. So there's lots of showers streaming through. So that's on Friday. So we're going to Saturday, break day, thanks to that high that is over the southeast. On Sunday, the next weather system arrives in Adelaide in the afternoon. So Melbourne at Sunday night, Adelaide at Sunday afternoon. It's got its skates on. It's going from Adelaide to Melbourne in just a few hours there. All right, so that's on Sunday. Heading into Monday, that's where we're seeing that Monday-Tuesday system. It is a South Australian system. There's some nice falls with this here. It's not huge, but it should be a nice widespread thing that affects a lot of people. So there we go, Monday into Tuesday. And then again, just like Melbourne, seeing the cold fronts skimming by. And so there's a little bit of wet weather with each one that comes in. And heading over to Perth, it was a cold start. It was 2 in the city. Temperatures shooting up during the day here. You can also see how important it is to get the Pro here, because the ML, our AI model, it learns from observations in the area, and it knows it was colder than what the global models, these pastel colors here, were saying. It knows it's warmer than what they're thinking during the day. So it has learned, and it gives you the right data. The next burst of wet weather arrives tonight. So the day itself is great. It is warm, temperatures shooting up, and then it changes tonight. Going into Saturday, Perth is the wet weather capital. There's lots of that moving through. 11 millimetres is the average, 7 on the smallest, 15 on the biggest model, and that's just for the Perth area there. So that's Saturday. Going into Sunday, the next burst arrives later on. Monday, and again, very similar next week. It's little amounts that come through, but it's day after day after day. There's some activity coming in because we've got those highs out of the way, and the cold fronts can just keep on sweeping through. A series of cold fronts is on its way. That's it from me today. I will see you next week.